Want to know the best short line hack at Disney World? This video is for you. Hi, I'm James from Guide to WDW, and welcome to the first installment in a brand new series, How to Disney, letting you know the inside scoop on the ins and outs of Disney World. And this video goes out to all the single riders out there. I'm not talking about relationship status, I'm talking about the single rider line, which is both one of my favorite ways to save a ton of time at Disney World and the subject of today's video. In fact, Disney just added single rider to 2 of the best new rides at the parks, so it's a great time to cover what it is and how you can use it on your next Disney World trip. The single rider line lets you get on some of Disney World's most popular rides with dramatically shorter wait times. It's kind of like Lightning Lane, but it's free, there are no reservations, and you can do it as many times per ride as you want. Now that sounds like a no-brainer. Why doesn't everybody do it? Well, single rider does come with some drawbacks. I'm going to get into the advantages and disadvantages of every single rider ride at Disney World, and I'll let you know which ones it works really well on and which one to avoid. But first, let's take a look at which rides have single rider. Single rider has been consistently running for years at Test Track, Rock and Roller Coaster, Millennium Falcon, and Expedition Everest. But Disney just added single rider to 2 of the best rides in the parks, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. These are being described as tests, but there is some reason to hope that at least one of these will stick around for the long haul. And in the past, Disney has sometimes offered single rider on Space Mountain, Avatar Flight of Passage, and Soarin', so it's possible that they may bring them back, but don't make plans around it. How to use single rider. Now, the how-to part is very simple. Go to one of the rides that has single rider, find the sign for the single rider line, and go in. Here's where to find it on every ride. On 4 of the rides, the single rider line is next to the regular line and the Lightning Lane entrance. On Test Track, Ratatouille Adventure, and Millennium Falcon, it's on the left-hand side of the entrance. And on Rock and Roller Coaster, look for the single rider sign on the right side of the line entrance. But on Rise of the Resistance and Expedition Everest, single rider is a bit harder to find. At Rise of the Resistance, look for the cast member holding the single rider sign near the exit of the ride. At Expedition Everest, go to the gift shop and then head to the left and follow the single rider signs. Now, you don't need to be traveling solo to go in the single rider line. You can wait with your party, you'll just be riding separately. The way that single rider works is that a cast member will load guests from the standby and Lightning Lane lines first. Whenever there's an empty seat left over in the ride vehicle, a cast member will fill it with a guest from the single rider line. So yes, your party will be separated, and Disney has a rule that you must be at least 7 years old to use the single rider line. Single rider has a lot of big advantages. You can save a lot of time with it. If a ride has a posted wait time of 60 minutes, you may only need to wait 10 to 30 minutes. Sometimes I've used single rider and gotten on the ride in just 5. Single rider is free. You can use it multiple times and you don't need to make a reservation or get on a virtual queue. Finally, single rider is available on very popular rides. Now, there are some disadvantages. Your party will get separated. You may get lucky and be able to get on the same ride vehicle as someone else in your party, but most of the time you'll be riding with strangers. So if you're traveling with small children or someone who doesn't feel comfortable getting separated from your group, that may eliminate single rider as an option, unless you also use Rider Swap. You can check out my video that explains how Rider Swap works in the description. Another downside is that you can't make any seat requests. In the regular line, you can ask to go on the front row or the back row. In single rider, you get what you get and you don't pitch a fit. Single rider skips a lot of the line, but that also means that you skip a lot of the pre-show elements that set up the story and premise of the ride. If this isn't your first time on the ride, it usually isn't a big deal, but just know that you aren't having the pure experience. Finally, you are not guaranteed to have a shorter wait. For most of these rides, it usually works out that way, but I'll let you know where you may run into some issues. Overall, I think the advantages of getting a dramatically shorter wait time is worth all of the trade-offs. Before I go into detail on each single rider line and let you know which ones are best, be sure to subscribe to Guide to WDW for more Disney World tips and advice. Test Track is one of the hardest Lightning Lanes to get and has one of the longest lines at Epcot, and that's before the giant reimagining of the ride opens in 2025. So single rider can be really good at test track, especially because the 6-seat ride vehicle means that there's often 1 or 2 empty seats in each car. I've done single rider on test track many times before because usually I can get on the ride in 15 to 20 minutes. And using single rider here frees up one of my tier 1 Lightning Lane slots. But I have had times where single rider has taken a bit longer than I like. That's usually when test track just reopens from a breakdown, and then there's a backlog of Lightning Lane riders to get through, and everything moves a bit more slowly. With previous versions of the ride, you skip the entire pre-show, including the car design game, which probably isn't coming back in the new version of the ride. For Test Track 3.0, I don't know what amazing pre-show elements you'll miss from the regular line, but I do think that single rider will be a good idea most of the time. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is the newest addition to the single rider lineup, with the limited time tests starting just a few days ago as Disney World kicks off the busy holiday season. But Remy has been running with a single rider line in Paris for years, and the ride was designed with single rider in mind. There's even a permanent sign with a wait time display. So it's very possible that this single rider will stick around. Now, it's so new that I really can't talk to how effective that this line will be for you, but like Test Track, the 6-seat vehicle is ideal. The single rider line runs along the same route as the Lightning Lane line, so you will miss some of the tableaus from the regular standby line. But considering that this ride has the longest waits at Epcot, single rider might become my go-to for Ratatouille. Over at Hollywood Studios, let's take a look at single rider at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Millennium Falcon has a very effective single rider line. The ride was designed with a single rider lane from the get-go, and I've always had a short wait here, usually around 5 to 15 minutes. Plus, you get to see the best part of the queue, which is the inside of the Millennium Falcon. But there are some big downsides. You miss the entire regular line before the Falcon, including the pre-show with the Hondo animatronic, which is one of the best animatronics at Disney World. Also, you will almost always get assigned the engineer role, which is in the back of the vehicle. I like engineer, but I think I'm in the minority. If you're a pilot or bus type of person, single rider might not be for you. At Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, the single rider line can dramatically cut down on the very long wait. But it's very clear that this ride was not designed with single rider in mind. Disney has been testing out different versions of single rider that skip some central parts of the line and go through backstage hallways. Fortunately, the latest version lets you see every part of the amazing pre-show, and you only have to go through one non-themed hallway, which is a really good trade-off. If this is your first time doing Rise of the Resistance, I wouldn't recommend single rider, just because having a cohesive experience is so key to the ride. But if this isn't your first trip aboard a Star Destroyer, a little immersion breaking is definitely worth the time savings. The last downside to this is that it's still in testing, and considering how much this appears to be just tacked on, I've got a bad feeling that this won't be a permanent option. But we'll see. The next is the single rider I usually skip, Rock and Roller Coaster. Now, you don't miss anything in terms of theming or pre-show compared to the regular standby line, but the few times that I've tried single rider, it just didn't seem to save me that much time. One time, I went there when there was a really long wait, and the cast member turned me away from using single rider, saying that it would take longer than the regular standby line. And I've seen multiple reports online of people sharing similar experiences. Rock and Roller Coaster seems to be a real gamble with single rider if you'll save any time at all. And because it doesn't have a posted wait time, you don't know what you're getting into. But that doesn't mean that single rider doesn't work on roller coasters, because Expedition Everest has a great single rider line. Everest has one of the lowest wait times for a Disney World roller coaster anyway, which seems to let single rider work very efficiently. You can get on the ride in 5 to 10 minutes. This is great if you are a coaster head who wants to go on multiple times in a row. Two downsides. You skip the very detailed regular queue, which is worth experiencing, and you can't request the front row, which is my favorite way to ride. But this is a great option for anyone who has already seen the regular line and who isn't picky about which row they go on. So to recap, except for Rock and Roller Coaster, I recommend pretty much every single rider line, especially if you've been on the ride before. You typically get a much shorter wait in exchange for splitting up your party on the ride and missing out on some of the theming. So now you know how to use the single rider line at Disney World. What would you like to know next? Let me know. This has been James from Guide to WDW. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you real soon.